Good evening, everybody. I'm Tiziana Tedesco, and on behalf of our board of directors and our co-presidents, Tony Altomare and Patrick Pelliccione, our executive director, Corrado Paina, welcome to our Authentic Italian Pizza with Eataly. Welcome to the media, food bloggers, and influencers here with us, and to all those who are following us via Facebook Live. This is a special evening we have conceived in collaboration with the Eataly Toronto store as part of our ongoing initiatives for the promotion of authentic Italian food products, their certification and traceability. The True Italian Taste project is financed by the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and ICO's mandate to raise awareness for authentic Italian products continues throughout 2020 and next year as well with new and exciting initiatives. This year, our event's format has changed to reflect the social distancing regulations following the COVID-19 emergency situation. So far, we had extremely good following, and we're glad to have you here with us again. We really appreciate your continued interest, the coverage of our events, and your enthusiasm throughout these years. Eataly Toronto opened in November 2019. It is a great addition to the food industry landscape that characterizes our beautiful city. Eataly's objective goes very much hand in hand with our chamber's goal to promote Italian high-quality products and combine them with the local produce and Canadian excellences from the farms to our tables. This evening, we will feature pizza al padellino, an Italian-style pan pizza that incorporates a variety of ingredients to enhance any type of taste and flavor. In order to guide you through the preparation of pizza al padellino, we have here with us Chef Mattia Pagliara. Italian-born, Chef Mattia has worked all over the world, from Australia to Vietnam, and is now the chef of La Scuola di Eataly here in Toronto. Chef Mattia will explain us how pizza al padellino is made and show us how to prepare, combine, and incorporate the ingredients that we have selected for you. Before starting with the pizza, we will go through the ingredients with Chef Roberto Fracchioni, an executive chef for over 20 years, the Canadian brand ambassador for Prosciutto di Parma, a professor and a food consultant. He will explain us the characteristics of each ingredient, where they come from, how they are used in the kitchen. Following each of their presentations, the media and influencers that join us tonight will have the opportunity to ask questions and interact with the chefs. At the end of the evening, you will have some time to ask any further questions as well. During the evening, if you wish, you can keep your video on and show us how your pizza is coming along. Before we start, we would like to show you a video which works as background frame to a variety of landscape and ecosystems which characterize the Italian territory, including thousands of different biodiversities that are the source of over 200 unique and certified products, as well as Oscar Farinetti, founder of Eataly, likes to remind us of, 7,000 varieties of vegetables, 50,000 animals, 1,200 types of vines, 538 different kinds of olives, 140 different types of corn, and 1,010 different types of apples. Incredible. Enjoy the video and enjoy the evening. And I'll see you later. Thank you.
Awesome. Wow. That video makes me nostalgic and hungry. Welcome, everybody. My name is Roberto Fracchioni, and I know some of you have heard me, rant about this DOP IGP thing before, but sorry, you're going to have to listen to me again. We're just doing this. It's a very important part of our program because there's a lot of confusion about what DOP, IGP, PGI, PDO, there's a whole lot of acronyms being thrown around out there. So I'm just going to try and cut through some of that just to clarify it for you. So PGI, PDO, those are the two English acronyms. In Italian, it's IGP and DOP. Go by the color. I always recommend just go by the color. The blue color is the PGI. The red label is the PDO. Now, there are two very similar in many ways designations. They both have similarities in the fact that they designate a product that is produced in a traditional method in a traditional area that has a history to it, that has a tradition to it. The main difference between the two is that the PGI, which is the blue label, is the protected geographical indication. And that refers to the fact that one step of the production of this product has to take place in a specific approved area or region of Italy. So it could be the production part of it. It could be the products themselves, the raw ingredients for a product to come from a designated area. It could also be the packaging, but it rarely is just the packaging. More often than not, it is the actual production of a product that comes from a very specific area. Now, that means that, I don't know, if we're talking about a cured meat, for example, or cheese, that means that the cheese can be made, has to be made in a certain specific area where there is a history, a tradition of that product being made. But with the PGI, it could come, the products, the milk itself could come from farms, from cows outside of the region. So as the products are brought into the region and prepared in a traditional method, and it can receive the PGI designation. The PDO, which is the blue label, or sorry, the red label, is a little bit different in that every step of the process has to be done in an approved region, area with traditional methods. It's much more strict. It's much more controlled. So that means if you take that same wheel of cheese, in order to get PDO designation, that means the cows have to be of a certain breed, the milk has to come from a certain region, the enzymes have to come from a certain region, all the production, all the aging, all the packaging, everything has to be done in that designated area. So it is much, much, much more stringent and much more difficult to get. Now, one thing that they both share is that they're a guarantee of quality, basically. Very similar to all the wine, the VQA in Ontario, for example, it guarantees a quality wine. With the PGI and the PDO, you're guaranteed to have a quality product because they are governed and controlled and inspected, but not by an Italian association. And this is a big important part. The PGI and PDO designations are a European Union operation. Like it's not your neighbor coming into your cheese production facility and making sure that you're doing everything right. It is controlled by, and all across Europe, by a separate entity, a third party that does all of the inspections to make sure that everyone is adhering to the rules. Now, the reason it is often associated with Italian products is because Italy has the most PGI and PDO products in all of Europe. So right now, I believe it's 83 PGI products and 138 PDO products. So it's 221 products that are certified. So it is very often associated with Italy, but it's not controlled and governed by Italy. It's an international body that takes care of it all. The most important part of this, that I think anyway, that's interesting to me, is that it takes on average about 7 years to receive approval for a new product. Because not only do you have to, if I'm producing some sort of cured meat that's been around forever, I have to prove to many different levels of government, as well as the European Union as a whole, that the product has a history in that area. You have to prove that it's something that has been going on in that region for a long time, and you have to find traditional methods in which to do it. But it also has a lot of regulations as far as food safety goes. That is something that is very, very important to both of these designations, is that you can't, I don't know, make prosciutto and hang it outdoors like they used to 150 years ago. You can't cure your cheese like they used to 150 years ago because of food safety. So all of that is controlled. You're guaranteed to get a quality product. And also very important is the traceability. So traceability is very important to both of these designations, because all of these products are numbered with codes that they can trace the production of a wheel of cheese. With the wheel of cheese, by the numbers that are stamped on the exterior, you can trace this back to the farm that it was produced at, the day it was produced, where the cows came from, the time that they were milked. Everything is traceable, so that if there ever is an issue, it can be traced back to the production to ensure that nothing else nasty happens. So there's a little bit of comfort in that, I think, but it's also about the quality. Now, that doesn't mean that every producer that makes, this piece of grana padano, there are companies that make grana padano that don't have the DOP designation. They choose not to be part of it. Gorgonzola is a classic example. I have a wonderful Gorgonzola producer near my home back in Italy, but they're not DOP. They make a wonderful Gorgonzola. It's awesome. People line up for an hour and a half to get a piece of their Gorgonzola. They're not DOP, but if you are buying a product and you look for the PGI or the PDO designation, then you're making sure that you are getting a great product, because they can't put the name on it, they can't put the logos on it, they can't, emboss the rind of the cheese with all of that designation unless they follow all of that criteria. So the products that you guys are cooking with today are, some of my favorites as well. So I'm going to quickly run through a lot of them. There's a lot of information in the little booklets that you can read through at your leisure. I just want to talk a second more about how to purchase the products. When you're buying any products that are DOP or IGP certified, you want to make sure that it is on the packaging somewhere. Now, some cheeses, the certification is actually embossed right on the exterior of the rind. You can't do that with a beautiful piece of Gorgonzola. So all the packaging has to have the designation written on it. Most companies are very, very blatant with it. They're very, hey, in your face, we're DOP, we're IGP. So always look for that. Again, if you're going to buy something, you might as well buy quality. So Gorgonzola, everybody says it smells like bad socks. If you get a piece of Gorgonzola that smells like bad socks, you're buying your Gorgonzola from the wrong place. Go to Eataly and get the real stuff, because real Gorgonzola doesn't smell like bad socks. This is the Dolce, so this is the younger of the two. So very, very sweet, very creamy. This is our room temperature, perfect. It's the way that a good Gorgonzola should be. Yes, the green is mold, but mold is your friend, okay? Without mold, we wouldn't have a lot of beautiful ingredients. So the mold, the enzyme that actually makes it turn blue is introduced into the milk, and then you get these nice lines through the cheese, because after about, it's usually about 4 or 5 weeks, they're needles, usually made out of copper, put into the cheese so that air can get in and the mold can actually grow. So it's a wonderful thing. It's been around. Gorgonzola is one of the oldest blue cheeses that has ever been documented. It traces back to 870, I think it's 879 AD. So a little bit older than you and I. Wonderful, wonderful cheese. Get to know it. The dolce and the picante. The picante is usually aged it absolutely is aged longer, and it just develops a little bit more depth, a little more richness. Definitely, more pungent, but still should never smell like dirty socks. Whichever you like, go crazy. But once you start using gorgonzola, if you're not already, it should become and probably will become a staple in your fridge, because a good gorgonzola is wonderfully versatile and works in a million different recipes. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna go fast. Fontina. So this is another cheese where you can't really put too much on the rinds. There usually is a stamp, but I got a piece without the stamp. But again, the producers are very good at making sure that there's a DOP designation right on here. Sometimes on this wheel of cheese, the actual seal, the big, red seal, was right in the middle of the giant wheel, so it got cut off. But it'll always be somewhere. It'll always be available for you to see somewhere. If it doesn't have it on there, it's your call. You can take the chance, but if you're buying from a reputable place, like Eataly, then you don't have to worry about it. If they say it's DOP or it's IGP, it is. You don't have to stress. Moving on to Grana Padano. So Grana Padano is one of the cheeses where, yes, you can actually put the DOP that's stamped on here. On the side here is another wheel, another circle that has a code which references the producer, the production date, all of that, so that it can be traced back to it. So again, with Grana Padano, you really want to look and make sure that it has the logos on it. If you don't get the piece with the big DOP on it, you just want to make sure that it has that little stamp, that little Grana stamp that's right under here. Very, very important for both for Grana Padano and Parmigiano Reggiano. And the reason is there's a lot of counterfeit Parmigiano Reggiano and Grana Padano out there. It's the most, Parmigiano Reggiano is the most counterfeited cheese in the world. Here in Canada, again, buy from reputable stores and you won't have to worry about it too much. But if you find yourself in a pinch and you're going to a shop for the first time and you're a little bit nervous, always just look for that. Just look for that embossing on the thing. If it doesn't have it, move on. Grana Padano and Parmigiano Reggiano, very similar in a lot of ways. Both are made from partially skimmed milk. The Parmigiano Reggiano removes the milk, the cream from the milk only once, because the milk is made from two milkings, the morning milking and the afternoon milking. Both cheeses are made from two milkings a day. The Padano has the fat skimmed off from both of the milks, whereas the Reggiano, it's only one. They're both made in similar size forms. The big differences between the two are the aging. Padano is aged a lot less. It's a fresher cheese, a minimum of 9 months. It can actually legally be inspected for the seal, whereas Parmigiano Reggiano, it's a year before it can be inspected and released to the public for sale. The aging process is one of the big differences, and it makes a massive difference in the flavor. If you take a piece of Grana Padano and you age it, and I've aged whole wheels of Padano for up to 3 years. If you take care of them and you have the right environment, you can age them super long. It's as wonderful, as flavorful, as nutty, as rich as a Parmigiano Reggiano, but generally it's meant to be an eating cheese, like a fresh eating cheese. Both Parmigiano and Padano are lactose free. Very important. They're lactose free. If you have somebody who is nervous about that, they have an allergy, let them eat it. 99% of lactose is in the whey from the production of milk, which gets, strained off and turned into ricotta or fed to pigs. The curds, there's only 1% of the lactose from the milk are left in the curds, and that's what you make the cheese out of. After any cheese that's aged for 6 months, that 1% of the lactose is actually converted in the cheese by the enzymes, and there's no more lactose in the final product. So Parmigiano, Grana Padano, both lactose free, both massively high in calcium, which is really important. When I was a young kid, I would get a stomach ache, and I still do this to this day. When I get a stomach ache, I eat a piece of Padano or Parmigiano. There's more calcium in a piece of a Grana Padano than there is in those horribly sugary Tums tablets that you take when you get an upset stomach. And they taste a heck of a lot better than all that sugary garbage Tums stuff. So lots of calcium, lots of iron, lots of vitamins, zero lactose. Enjoy it. Last thing I want to talk about is buying retail. So this is a piece of Parmigiano Reggiano. So wonderful logoing. They actually put the brand right on there. They actually put the seal right on there to certify it. But the problem is you can't see the rind. And again, reputable source, you should be okay. But if you find yourself in a position like this, you just want to make sure that you can pull it off and actually see the rind and make sure that you can see the lettering on the outside that actually says Parmigiano Reggiano. Very important to check when you're going to a place that you're not sure of. Those are the 4 cheeses that we're using. The meat that we're using is a bresaola. So bresaola has become very popular here in Toronto. I started making it in my restaurants probably 15 years ago. The difference between the bresaola that you'll get made here in Canada and the bresaola from Italy are the breed of the cows. The cows that we have here in Canada are very different than the cows that are used for bresaola, and also the cut. Quite often here in Canada, and I've done this too, I've used beef tenderloin to make my bresaola. And a lot of chefs will use beef tenderloin to make their bresaola. The traditional real bresaola, it's not made with the tenderloin. It's made with a few different cuts from the round, from different parts of the animal that are similar. They all have very low amounts of fat, but the flavor profile is very different. If you take a piece of bresaola that's made properly from Italy versus the best bresaola that you've had here in Toronto, you will notice a massive difference. Bresaola, again, always look for your seals to make sure that they are, the real deal. They're beautiful products, very low in fat if you're looking for a cured meat, but you don't want to stay with the regular salumi that have tons of fat in it. Bresaola is a wonderful option. Very healthy, very quick to make. If you feel like making some, you know what, jump on Instagram, shoot me a direct message. I'll walk you through making it in your basement. It's really not that hard. It's probably one of the easiest things to make. Not make it as well as in Italy, but we can pull it off okay here in Canada. Oh boy, that's about all my time. So if there's any quick questions, I can answer them. I know it was kind of quick, kind of inundating you guys with information, but if you have any questions, lay it on me.
Hi, Chef Roberto. I think one question was just if you could just show the 2 Grana Padano and Parmigiano Reggiano next to each other so you can see the difference.
Yes. So you can see, you can see color is a big difference. This is on the right-hand side is the Parmigiano Reggiano. So it's a lot more straw colored, a little bit more brown. That's from aging. If you take a piece of Padano and you age it a lot longer, it'll get the same color. But the wheel sizes are almost identical. You can see, I'll stand back here. The wheel sizes, the weights are almost the same. They both use about 550 liters of milk for one wheel of Parmigiano and Padano. But it's just about what you want to do. On a charcuterie board, I almost always use Padano. It's just a nice eating cheese. I almost always cook with Parmigiano Reggiano.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody, if you have a question, to please let us know in the chat. We will also have some time at the end. If there's any questions that you didn't think of right now for Chef Roberto, we can come back to him. I see that at the moment we don't have any questions, so I think we can pass the word to Chef Mattia. And if there are any questions, we can just come back to them later on. So Chef Mattia, I pass the word to you.
Ciao a tutti. Well, welcome to La Scuola di Italy, even if in a virtual form. I would like to say thank you to the ICCO and thank you to Chef Roberto, because all the information they gave us so far, they are more than just valuable. They are fundamental to understand what's behind all the Italian culinary history. And thank you again, Tiziana, for highlighting the biodiversity of Italy. That's very important as well. Then say that for whoever is deciding to go alongside with me with these pizzas, I would say set your oven on the highest setting. So bring it to 525 if possible, if you didn't do it before. Then what I did 1 hour ago, I put some oil in a pan. Any pan or a flat surface that can go in the oven could be your vessel to baking the pizza today. This has been here about an hour or so. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna gently massage it. I'm not gonna destroy all the bubbles that are created inside. I'm simply gonna spread them around. So Pizza Padellino, it's started in Torino, probably for the necessity of speeding up the production of pizzas in restaurants, because Torino is actually an industrial city. Differently than the Napolitan pizza, it's cooked in a pan, while the Napolitan pizza is cooked in a brick oven, and it doesn't use any oil in the recipe as well. So once this is spread, I got two here that are already pre-done. What we want to do for this particular pizza, for the quattro formaggi, for the 4 cheese, we do want to start with the mozzarella. This is the one we produced here at Eataly. The one that you guys have has been pre-drained, because mozzarella has a very high milk content, whey content. So if we put it on a pizza fresh out of the box, it would definitely release too much water, too much liquid, and it would ruin the pizza crust. So we would start to tear the mozzarella. And alongside with the mozzarella, we're gonna put the gorgonzola. So if I was in a commercial oven, I would just probably put all the ingredients together, bake them at once. But the oven we use here for making pizza padellino reaches temperature of about 630 Fahrenheit. So doing it with the home oven, you may want to bake it in 2 steps. So normally, when doing the pizza padellino, the first thing I do here on this oven, the first part is always baking the pizza at the bottom of the oven, because normally the heating element is right there heating up the oven, and that gives us the chance to crisp up the bottom properly. At half of the cooking time, I'm gonna take it out and top it with the rest of the ingredients. But I'll show you more of that later. The other pizza, I'm simply gonna put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. This is Roy from Liguria. And then in we go. At the bottom of the oven to start with. So pizza padellino, at least the one we make here, is made with simple ingredients. So we got mulino marino flour, burrato type 2, which is a not refined flour, and is actually milled with a stone that is over 200 years old. And the other part of the flour used for the dough mix, it's Manitoba. It's called Manitoba, like the region of Canada, because the flours with a good strength, with a good amount of gluten, are normally grown here, but still, it's a blend of other flours. So while our pizza are baking, if there is any question, I will be more than happy to answer. I see that they... So,
yes, Chef Mattia, there is actually a question. I will ask Colleen to unmute herself, please, to ask her question.
Please, Colleen, go ahead.
Hi, Chef Mattia.
Hi.
I was wondering what the ideal size is. Sorry if you said it already, but for the pan.
It's all right, don't worry. So the ideal size of the crust should be spread about 9 inches across, 8.5 to 9 inches across. And again, each surface that can be used like a baking tray to go in an oven could be oiled, and then you could spread the pizza right on top. So 9 inches across is the size to look for.
There are no other questions at this point, Chef.
Pardon?
There are no other questions at this point.
All right.
Thank you.
For the one that have been here before, Another difference that is very important between pizza al padellino and pizza napoletana. Pizza napoletana bakes in a staggering 90 seconds at temperature above 850 Fahrenheit, which are about 450 Celsius, while pizza al padellino cooks to lower temperature. So the two things, therefore, have different cooking times. Mine, for example, will come out in about 6 more minutes. And when it's gonna come out, we're gonna take care of all the toppings. If you are baking the white pizza alongside with the pizza quattro formaggi, that will probably be ready in less time than the quattro formaggi. Earlier, someone asked me, I'm gonna probably bake 4 pizzas together. Consider that when you bake multiple things inside an oven, the same chamber of the oven gets filled with all the steam released by the cooking of the ingredients that are in it. Therefore, times may vary, and sometimes just slightly opening the lid door of your oven will help that steam to be released in order for the crust to keep caramelizing and to get to the crunch point that you're looking for. So this is a very important thing to look for. Another thing that I always do while doing my pizzas, or at least while cooking things, I honestly do love to check what's going on in the oven. And they are beautifully rising. They're already starting to puff up, because another important thing of this particular dough, it's highly digestible. This dough has been made about 72 hours ago. So when we make the dough, and one day we're gonna definitely do classes or tutorials about this, about the padellino dough itself. When we make the dough, it's water, flour, salt, yeast, extra virgin olive oil. Once mixed and get to the right point, we're gonna let it sit in a tub for about 3 hours. Done that, it gets portioned and stored away in a refrigerated room at about 4 degrees Celsius. Then it got shipped to you, still in refrigerated trucks, and it had all the chance not just to develop and to create all those gases that let bubble and puff up, but it also got the chance to mature. So enzymes in the broken down the flour's proteins and the sugars, and now our digestive system can definitely appreciate the lightness of it. So that's an important part. Sometimes they ask me, can I make a dough and eat it right away after 1 hour or so? My answer is always, you could, but I don't suggest to. You could put a huge amount of yeast in your dough mixture, set it perhaps at temperature that are fairly warm, let's say 26 degrees, 30 degrees. It would grow. It would grow very fast. You could cook it, you could bake it, but in the end, it won't be as digestible as a dough that proved at least 24 hours or longer. Then, depending on the flours used, with a higher or a lower protein content, the time needed for those flours to be properly worked by the enzymes may vary. Now, ooh, it's looking good. I'm gonna start taking out my quattro formaggi, and I'm gonna keep putting all the rest of the ingredients. So I'm gonna take my fontina DOP, fontina della Valle d'Aosta. We're gonna spread it nicely. But my Parmigiano Reggiano, my grated Parmigiano Reggiano, I'm gonna keep it for the very end because I don't want it to caramelize and gratin, let's say, to form a crust. I want it at the end, freshly grated. Normally we would do it, just because it's gonna melt in and absorb all the beautiful oil released by the pizza and by the other cheeses. So I'm really sure that at the same time right now, there are probably other people joining this meeting attempting their own pizzas. So please feel free to share all the great results you're probably gonna achieve at the end of it. We are looking definitely forward to see what's going on at your place, guys. And,
Chef Mattia, I have a couple of questions for you.
Anytime, please.
So the pizzas we chose for tonight actually do not have any tomato sauce. Can you give us some information on that?
Absolutely. So the pizza for antonomasia, so the most known pizza that it's definitely the margherita, the one that brings San Marzano tomato, beautiful fresh basil, mozzarella fior di latte, and some nice extra virgin olive oil. Today, since Pizza Padellino also it's a concept of pizza that is born in the northern part of Italy. We decided that to give it its justice, we wanted to use a different array of ingredients. Normally, we believe that what grows together goes together. So as an idea conceptualized in the north, definitely the ingredient top in our pizza tonight should be from the north. We also thought that perhaps with all the cheeses present on a quattro formaggi and those very distinct layers of flavor, adding the acidity of the tomato sauce maybe an excessive note that would derail all the rest of the flavors. So for that particular reason, we didn't put tomato sauce on that pizza. As well as the pizza with bresaola, another delicacy from the north. Bresaola is just going to be put on a focaccia pizza, basically on a white pizza, with just the rucola, the parmigiano, the grana padano shades, and some extra virgin olive oil. That's all it needs to create deliciousness. And that's the reason why we didn't use tomato sauce today.
Thank you, Chef. And so you were putting in the cheeses step by step for the 4-cheese pizza?
Pardon me?
The cheeses that you're using for the quattro formaggi, you're putting the cheese on step by step?
I decided to start with the mozzarella and the gorgonzola. I wanted those first to melt and start to caramelize a little bit. And then I decided to put the fontina. So if I would have put all together, spending those, let's say, 12 minutes in the oven, all my cheeses put at once from the beginning would have come at the end, probably not burned, but caramelized more than I wanted. And I didn't want the browning of the cheese. Therefore, putting them in 2 steps will give me that edge of time that will remoist the cheese. Once one is melting, the first part is melting, and it's about to crisp up and maybe start to brown, we put the fontina that will cool it down, and we will start the process of melting. Otherwise, we're going to have just a nice crusty pizza. Let's see what's going on. Beautiful. I think we are about actually 2 minutes away, I would say. So I'm going to start to actually open this beautiful bresaola. Oh, wow. And as I say, the white pizza is going to get ready faster than the other one. So let's see how it looks like.
So, Chef, can I interrupt you just for a second? Can you bake this pizza on a baking tray as well?
Of course, every surface that is suitable for going in an oven and it's straight, it's a perfect vessel for baking this pizza. One thing I don't suggest, honestly, is using cast iron pan. A cast iron pan is a beautiful tool to have in your kitchen, but for this specific preparation, you're gonna have a vessel that is pretty thick. So before the heat can be conveyed from the oven all throughout the pan in order to crisp up your pizza crust, it will be too long. So you need something thin, like this is a blue steel. It's a pretty thin one, like the one you may use for making cakes, but a different material. So if you have a cake mold, like that's perfect. Now, we're gonna dress this one with rucola. I like to put some of the rucola at the bottom. I'll still keep some because I like the color of it. Then we're gonna put all the slices. So the tray you guys received at home, it's actually for 2 servings. So I'm gonna use half of the amount I have in here. A little bit more of the rucola on top. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna put my grana padano. And a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. There we go. And this is our pizza with bresaola IGP, della Valtellina, and grana padano and rucola. So the quattro formaggi is ready. being too generous with the cheese sometimes have the cheese overflowing and it's gonna stick to the pan. But with a good spatula, if it's a non-stick pan, be careful. It's gonna be an easy work to take it out. So all we're gonna need on this one is taking our Parmigiano Reggiano. Should be freshly shaved if you have the chance, but in today's kit, we took care of doing that for you guys. And some black pepper. Black pepper definitely put there that hint of sharpness that helps bring up all those flavors and even elevate them. So there we go. What I do suggest when you take out your quattro formaggi, perhaps wait that minute or two before cutting through. It will give the cheeses that little time to just settle a bit in order for them not to run out of your pizza and escape. So I see there is one question. So I have 1 in a cast iron and 3 in a cake pan, and can confirm that is happening. Is the cast iron cooking well right now?
It's okay. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's okay.
Are the other one performing better?
Yes, much better.
It's okay. 3 out of 4, it means you're gonna eat. I'm very curious to see the pictures how they come, by the way. If there are no other questions.
Chef, I actually would like to ask you a personal question. So for the quattro formaggi, you mixed all the 4 cheeses together. Would you do it ever with each cheese separate?
Actually, I didn't mix all the cheeses together. So
No, okay.
I actually started with mozzarella and gorgonzola. I kept them in 5 to 6 minutes, enough for them to melt and gently start to brown and caramelize. Pizza out, I added my fontina to cover up the rest. That would stop the caramelization of the first 2 cheeses. Then the fontina would again start to melt and slowly caramelize to the point where I take the pizza out and I add my freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. So I really don't want much of browning of the cheeses. I want it to melt and just get a nutty note when cooking.
But would you ever put it like, for example, a quattro stagioni? So you put 1 cheese on 1 quarter, 1 cheese on another?
I could say that if someone would like to do that, why should I say no, you cannot? I personally wouldn't. I do love my 4 cheese flavors and layers to be all intertwined together. But if you feel like having a pizza that has a slice of fontina, a slice of gorgonzola, a slice of definitely browned up and caramelized Parmigiano Reggiano, and a slice of fior di latte, you sure could do it and try it. And perhaps also, if you guys try, share a photo, share a picture, you can show us how it comes. But this is our quattro formaggi of Italy, Toronto for today.
Thank you. I would like to ask our participants if anybody would like to share their pizza that they're preparing with us.
Opa. The light doesn't give it justice. Sorry.
I saw Susie, you were showing us your pizza. Oh, and Michelle, here we go. Perfect.
Good job. Check the bottom.
Hey, sorry, it's me.
Hi.
So I didn't realize that I was supposed to cook the other one. So that's in the oven, the one with the bresaola. But so this is the one, and it's really hard. It looks like it's not brown, but it actually is brown, like underneath. But it's not really crispy, right? Like the outside's crispy and the inside's supposed to be soft.
Yes, correct. The particularity of pizza padellino is having a beautiful outside crispy crust, but still maintaining a nice, soft, fluffy inner core.
Right. So it's almost like, I mean, not really, but more like a focaccia dough than a pizza dough. Not really.
It's a different kind of pizza.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to eat it, right? So.
Oh, yes, please.
Mine has turned out very crispy so far. So I'm happy.
I'm glad you are. Well,
Please
thank
let us
you again
know
for
if you have
having
any
me.
more questions. We can ask either Chef Roberto or Chef Mattia any questions that you may have.
Well, seems like probably most of the people are busy eating the pizzas they just made.
It's Lucy Waverman. Could we have the pizza dough recipe?
Pardon me?
Could we have the pizza dough recipe?
A pizza dough recipe. So, yes, we do have a pizza dough recipe for this particular one. I honestly don't remember it by heart, but it would recite probably just like that. There are 700 grams of Mulino Marino type 2. There are 300 grams of Mulino Marino Manitoba. There are about 30 grams of sea salt. There are about 650 ml of water. It must be very cold water, at least 40 degrees Celsius. It's very important. There are about 2 grams of fresh brewer yeast. The 2 grams of fresh brewer yeast, if you cannot get fresh brewer yeast, could definitely become half of the amount in weight of dry yeast. So they would become 1 gram of dry yeast. And beautiful. We can actually send the recipe. And then there would be something like 15 grams of salt. For the whole procedure, a recipe is going to be sent, guys, so that everyone can be on the same page and you can definitely try it home. If you have a dough mixer, it performs better. If you want to attempt it by hand, well, you're going to have to really buckle up because it's a well-hydrated dough. It needs some good workout.
Chef Mattia, we're actually receiving some questions also through our Facebook Live. One of them, for example, is if there's any recommendations to cook the pizza on a charcoal grill.
If you want to cook the pizza on a charcoal grill, like a barbecue, let's say, barbecue are definitely provided with a thermostat, with a thermometer. So your pizza time will get to 7 minutes if you have your barbecue set and closed on a 635 Fahrenheit temperature. Then there is a beautiful question that, in my opinion, is quite interesting. What are your thoughts on cutting or not cutting pizzas when it's served in a restaurant? I would say that different typology of pizza perhaps need different solutions. For example, a pizza like this, I would be very much okay, as we do here at Eataly Toronto, to have it cut in 4 slices. It's definitely very practical. But if I'm eating a pizza napoletana, I really want my pizza to get to me as a whole, because pizza napoletana is so thin that once you cut it through, it gets soggy and all the sauce run away. What you need to do with pizza napoletana, you just tear a nice corner of it, you fold it, fold the tip in, and you eat it. So different pizzas, different solutions.
Thank you, Chef Mattia. We actually received a question for Chef Roberto. What's the best way to preserve the cheese at home in order for it not to make mold on it?
Eat it quick. The best thing to do, there are these cheese bags, all kinds of different storage vessels for it. What I find is just wrap it as tightly as you can in saran wrap. You want to that keeps the moisture in so it doesn't dry out, but more importantly, it keeps odors out. If you're doing especially something like the fontina, you don't want the smell of the fontina getting into your eggs. So just wrap it as tightly as you can and then throw it into a piece of like a Tupperware container or something just to make it extra secure. The important thing when you're handling cheese is to make sure that when you take it out and you cut off a piece, always make sure you're cutting it with a clean knife. Make sure that your hands are clean, make sure that your cutting board is clean, because you may just wipe your cutting board with a rag, put a piece of cheese on there, break off a piece, wrap it back up. During that 30 seconds that it's on the cutting board, if there's any funkiness going on, you will introduce bacteria, which will turn into mold in the fridge. So work super clean, Keep as much oxygen off of it as you can, and you'll be fine for a good long time.
Thank you very much. We also have another question again for Chef Mattia in regards to the dough. So when you prepare the pizza dough, what is the process actually when you prepare it a few days ahead?
If I'll tell you, then no. So basically, the process is very straightforward. With this particular dough, since we tried to reach an hydration that included the oil goes to about 67, between 67 and 70%. Hydration is the ratio of liquid on the flour. So in this case, let's say we got 700 grams of water on 1 kilo of flour. So we start from flour. We tend to break in the flour properly all the yeast. Then we would start adding water in a streamline up to the point where it gets creamy, kind of creamy. And then we're gonna throw in the salt, and we're gonna put it on the second speed of our dough mixer, which help creating a nerve into the dough. That's the kind of nerve that once the dough is growing, while it develops CO2, the kind of nerve created together with the gluten trap that gas and gives you those beautiful bubbles that you love, for example, in your pane rustico or in the pizza crust you made today at home. Because I read one of the comments that say the bubbles in the crust are huge. Nice. Good job.
I'd like to ask Tiffany to ask her question.
Hi, Chef. So I just want to know if we did have leftovers of the cheese and we're taking it out of the fridge, how long should we wait before we enjoy it?
Well, if you have leftover of the cheese and you are not full yet, definitely enjoy them right away. But what I suggest when doing pizza like this, for example, since everything was sent for 2 servings, I would normally, as the Chef Roberto suggests us, make sure your hands are clean, make sure you take a clean knife. I would portion out what I need for the dinner or for my pizzas. The rest I would just seal it back with the lid in that airtight container and place it in the fridge. So the chain of cold is not broken and the cheese is gonna live happily for all those days to come.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chef Mattia, could you please repeat which kind of flour you used tonight?
So tonight we use a mix of Mulino Marino Manitoba and Mulino Marino Burratto Type 2. Sometimes people ask me, do you use 00? When we talk about 00, it's like saying all-purpose flour, because 00 refers to the number of refinement of a flour. The lower the number, then in this case it's even lower than 0, it's a double 0. The higher is the grade of refinement. So the grain of wheat go to like a burning process where the outer shell gets burned away up when you get to the core. And you got that core, and that's what then it gets milled and processed. That's a 00 flour. In our case, the burratto is a type 2, which it means is not really a very refined flour. It still maintains many of the grain properties. And then a Manitoba, which is a refined flour, but with very high protein content. Great to create a gluten strength in our dough.
Thank you, Chef. Are there any other questions?
So I guess if there are no more questions, I invite everybody to send us some if they think about them later on. And I just would like to thank everybody who participated, all the media, the influencers that join us tonight, and all the people connected live from Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much, Eataly, for collaborating and working with us on this event. It was really great. It was a great partnership. And thank you very much, Chef Roberto, Astrid, Isabella, all the staff of the Italian Chamber of Commerce for making this possible. Before we go, I would like to invite you to mark your calendar for our series of online masterclasses we'll present in the month of July in collaboration with ALMA, the International School of Italian Cuisine, based in Parma in Italy and worldwide renowned. In July, so we will talk about pasta, Italian bread, and gelato. We will discuss traditions, crafts, certified ingredients, and regional variety. Again, thank you so much to all of you. It was a pleasure. On behalf of the Italian Chamber of Commerce, enjoy the evening, buon appetito, and keep following us. Thank you very much.